Hey guys, welcome to my first ever YouTube video. I've been inundated with messages from people asking about my recommendations and ideas with this and how to optimize this exercise and diet. So, let's get into it. Alright, number one, full body workouts. Now, we're not going to be able to attack the muscles or give enough of a stimulus to the muscles to the loading that we normally would do in the gym. So if we go for a full body workout, we're going to make sure that we're putting those muscles under strain on a daily basis, which is going to help with muscle retention and potentially muscle growth. Alright, number two, fail. Do not be scared of failure. Taking your muscles to potential failure, taking them to their limits is going to again help retain and or keep a little bit of muscle growth moving forward. When we train, especially when we're training, say with weights for example, our muscles don't go, oh look, we're holding onto a 30 kilo dumbbell, we're going to grow this much. No, they see it as a stimulus. So stimulus is the tension the muscle's under. It is the load that the muscle's under. It's the amount or as little as rest that you're going to give those muscles, and mechanical tension. So say like holding a dumbbell here, it's a lot harder than holding a dumbbell out here, right? That's mechanical tension. So chasing failure, because we are limited in some of those aspects, failure is going to be the key for us to move forward. Alright, and number three, progressive overload. Now progressive overload does kind of tie into our failure part there, but it's tracking our failure. So say if we're going down, we're doing 20 push-ups, next time you go for 21 push-ups, and if that's your failure mark and you failed at 20 but now you're failing at 21, you are progressively overloading, progressively making more of a stimulus to give to those muscles to make sure they're still going to be growing. Because if we do 10 sets of 10 bicep curls at 10 kilos, it's going to get to a point where the muscles aren't going to continue to grow, right? They're going to adapt. So forcing that progressive overload is going to make sure that our muscles are having to continually adapt, and adaptation is essentially growth. Alright, now we're going to talk about diet, and we're going to talk about your TDEE, or your total daily energy expenditure. That is how many calories you burn off in a day. So say if you weighed 80 kilos and you've sat there for about a couple of years and you've had the same job for a couple of years, you do the same exercise routine that you've been doing for the last couple of years, you have found your homeostatic point, or where the same amount of food that you eat is the same amount of food that you put out, right? So you've met your TDEE. Now, if we are getting confined to our homes, that means that our energy that we expend in the day is most probably going to go down, right? That is if we're not mindful about making sure that our neat, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, like going for walks and things like that, making sure that that is up as high as possible. But that is most probably going to drop down, so just make sure you keep that in mind moving forward. All right, number two, plant-based. Now, what I mean by plant-based is I don't mean going for a full vegan diet, but it means plant-based by definition. So Charles Poliquin, he had a very, very nice example of what it comes to when it's a plant-based diet. So it's having plants in your diet, but then garnish those plants with meat, because we do need to get our protein in. But a plant-based diet is always going to be good moving forward, especially in times like this, because when we start turning to our non-perishables or the foods that we can store for long periods of time, we start missing out on micronutrients, right? So you could start doing things like greens powders, for example. You start looking at, say, like vitamin D. I would recommend to supplement those regardless. Multivitamins as well are going to be fantastic, as well as, say, things like Armour Force, so things that are going to help with your immune support. If you want to know which multivitamins and things that I take, I have my Vital All-in-Ones. That is my greens powder. I chose this one specifically because it has broccoli sprouts in it. Broccoli sprouts are very rich in sulforaphane. Sulforaphane is going to help with your NRF2 pathways. It's going to help you keep you a little bit brighter. Now your vitamin D3, there is so many benefits to vitamin D3. In fact, if you look in the little box underneath, that little description box there, I'll make sure that there is an article there. I believe it was written by Dr. Rhonda Patrick. So she had a fantastic article that was made up, and I will have that down below. And then I have my Armour Force there. So Armour Force is a good immune support, and on top of that I also take a multivitamin, which is again by Bioceuticals. So check these guys out. I mean, there are a bunch of them that are out there, and I mean, these guys don't sponsor me or anything like that. It's just with my little bit of research that I did, I found that these were the best ones on the market. Right, and my third one for diet is your protein intake. Now, coming from a big beefy guy, I'm sure talking about protein intakes just sounds very broy, but don't forget, protein is very expensive, right? And if we're going to start heading into this and it's going to be a long-term thing, financial strain is going to become something that is very, very well known throughout the communities. So looking at your protein intake, specifically if you're looking at protein shakes, they're going to be a great cost-effective way to make sure that you can get your protein in for the day. Now, I will argue the fact that, again, we do need to start looking at more whole foods, so protein shakes wouldn't be the best. However, this is more of a financial based tip, where this one here is more of a health and well-being and a holistic tip. So you need to find a balance between them both. for you to stick to the two, but when it does come to push, come to shove, and we don't have enough meats, if it does come to that kind of a point, then protein shakes can be a great, easy way to get your fix. Alright, and that was it with diet. So now we're going to move on to just general well-being moving forward into the future. First one, sleep. Now this is one that I cannot stress enough. Dr. Matthew Walker has a fantastic book on sleep and why we sleep. It's called Why We Sleep. Pretty self-explanatory. But he will go into the intricacies of why we do need sleep. And if there's any kind of a book that has been an opener for me personally, after reading that, it was non-negotiable. I would be getting my 8 hours of sleep every single day. Okay? 7 to 9 hours is what we need for sleep. It's just going to help, especially when we're starting to get like really head cloudy, we're starting to get a bit cabin fever. It's just going to keep us refreshed, going to make sure that our brain is repairing itself, and we're going to be getting the most out of our day-to-day activities. And number 2, keep busy, keep social. Just keep those pathways, just keep talking to people. Again, going to start getting cabin fever, we're going to start locking ourselves down, maybe for a period of time. So making sure that you're keeping busy, keeping yourself moving around, pick up some hobbies, maybe start a YouTube channel. There are many things that you can do around the house, and I'm sure there are things that you've been neglecting or pushing into the garage, avoiding for months and months and months. Now is the time to get those done. And keeping social, now don't go out and don't go to a party where there's 150 people there, because obviously we know what's going on around right now. But keeping social, just making sure you're keeping tabs on your friends, on your family, on your loved ones, making sure everyone's feeling okay, have a bit of a chat, ask how their day's gone. You go through a couple of friends, have a couple of chats. It's a good couple of hours gone. So these ones are going to be very important for your noggin health. And lastly, keeping a routine and keeping a daily plan. There is nothing worse than waking up, say, if you're normally getting up at about 5, 6 a.m. in the morning. You get up, you have your coffee, everything's going well, you're following your routine as you've been told to do, and then you smash out all your work by 11 a.m. and then you're stuck staring at walls for the next 8 or 9 hours before you go to sleep and repeat, which is where the daily plan comes in. Spread your stuff out through the day a little bit. Don't ever smash it all out in the morning. I mean, if that's what your work demands of you, then do that. But then with the hobbies that you have, or with getting in contact with people through the day, spread that out a little bit through the day. Don't get to 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're sitting there scrolling through Netflix, you're like, seen it. So spreading everything out is going to be really important. And yes, keeping a routine. We've all heard that one by now. Making sure that we do keep our routine, make sure we're keeping that routine relatively consistent. It's just going to make sure that when we do have to transition back into work, it's one, not a huge shock to the system now that we just wake up and it's like, oh, it's 11 o'clock, I haven't had to do anything yet. But then when we do go back into work, we'll be able to make that transition nice and smooth. Alright guys, that's everything. So just a quick little video just to give you some tips that I've accumulated, that I've seen, that I thought that I would transfer over to you guys, just in regards to the next couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months, however long this thing goes. Keep those things in mind, make sure you practice them as much as you can, and just look after yourself. Honestly, it's all about self-care. It's all about making sure that we have self-preservation, keeping ourselves locked down. If every single person were to focus on that, focus on their own well-being, focus on their own fitness, focus on their own mental health, and making sure that they themselves are keeping themselves isolated if necessary, then all of this is going to blow over extremely quickly. That's it guys, thank you very much for your time. Don't forget to subscribe. We have a bunch more videos coming out and a lot more structure to our videos, so stay tuned for those, but I will see you next time.